Good afternoon. My name is Gary Gamboa. I'm a co-owner here at Desert Mountain Healing IOP. It's an intensive outpatient recovery program for drugs and alcohol. And today I've invited Kim and Vanessa here to talk about the subject of educating our kids on drugs and alcohol and the addictions they have. So Kim has some questions and just kind of see what y'all's response is. We haven't talked about these.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
Go ahead, Vanessa.
I'll echo that. I agree. With any subject, growing up, I've always tried to establish open communication lines. They know that they can come regardless. And I think I'm that awkward mom I'm the one that brings up these things. Hey, let's talk about sex. Let's talk about drugs. Let's talk about, and they're like, oh, great, mom. Okay, sure. Let's do that. And so now they know it's not this scary topic, and that really no topic in our household is a scary thing. They just know that they can come. And when my door's open, they feel more comfortable being able to walk in and say, hey, at least I hope they feel that way.
Right.
I want them to, know my struggles as well, so I really try to just keep it a really open door policy in our house and let them know what I see out there and what I hear and what I deal with in my job here and there, so that, they're more comfortable with and now they get tired of it. Like, again, more conversations.
And I think it's also good to know that, like you said, here are struggles, that we have been where they're at. I think it's a little bit scarier of a world now than when we were in high school, but, that we did face all of the stuff that they were facing, and that they're not alone.
Right,
that
right.
Do you guys ever run into a situation where, kind of like yourself, Vanessa, you're digging for, on a certain subject with your boys, and they're like, whoa, Mom, you need to back off?
Not really. More of it's annoyance because we do just bring up things very regularly in the house. And so they're like, it's like, okay, yes, we've heard it. And then the good thing I think with those conversations is that they then reiterate everything back that they've heard me say many times before. So I know they're listening.
Right.
So they'll be like, yes, you said this and this and that. We've heard this before. We get it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So for me, the fact that they retain what I've said and that they're able to verbalize it back, I know that those moments are being stored somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really helpful. I think I bring it up, and if they're good, they're like, yeah, we get it. Okay, thanks.
We're bored now.
We get it. We've heard it before.
I got a question for you, Kim. Being as Vanessa has two boys, and you have a younger son and an older daughter, right? Mm-hmm. Is there, when you're trying to talk to them about these different subjects, sensitive subjects, is there a difference between the boy and the girl, or not really?
I think with my daughter, she's, no, not really. I mean, my son's actually a little bit more emotional, with his feelings and stuff. And so I think having to just sit down and mainly talk to him, because I feel like in society, boys can't really talk a lot to their friends, or they feel like, they have no one to talk to, or that they're being, weak. Or, so I feel like with him, I probably will have the better not should I say better conversations, but we're able to talk a little bit more on it, where my daughter, she has her girlfriends, she has people to talk to, so I feel like she's kind of like, I'm good, Mom. Mm-hmm. Where my son, like, he'll be more open,
right.
because he feels safe,
yeah.
And he doesn't feel like weak.
Mm-hmm.
I meant, it's like, to boys, the whole don't cry, don't talk about your problems, throw some dirt on it and you'll be okay. So there's a little bit of a difference.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's move on to the next question. And we'll give Vanessa the first shot at this one this time. And the question that I would ask is have you talked to your kids about opioids or fentanyl?
I have. I think that as us growing up, it was cigarettes, and then it was marijuana and everything, these, the word gateway gateway drugs. They could lead to the next and to the next. And so for us, now that marijuana is legal, which is I'm no stance on that at all. But now that it's legal, I think it's deemed in our children's eyes as being okay, and it's something that's fine. Which for me, I still have that gateway. Like, well, but that's a path, and that's just going to open other doors. And I see so much, just where I work, people using drugs and not knowing how fentanyl got in their system because I'm just using marijuana or I'm just doing this, not knowing that their medications were laced with or cut with or whatever with fentanyl, which can be like, it can kill you. Like too much fentanyl or too much a synthetic product or whatnot in your drug or whatever you're using just to relax or just to, can kill you. And so I have those conversations. In fact, I was talking to my son Gus, and he was like, "Oh, you mean that one that they hide in other drugs, and then you can just die?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that drug." And we've talked about like never take anything from someone you don't know what's in it. Never eat anything from someone you don't know what's in it. So we've had conversations about fentanyl and how
What's funny is
dangerous.
we talk a lot about it here in the office, but before you go with it, Kim, back in our day, it used to be we experimented, and you could do, like the street drugs that were out there, and you might get in trouble with law, you might get in trouble with your parents, but you still woke up the next day,
Right.
Nowadays, there's only one experiment sometimes, and you're done,
You can't guarantee that for sure.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kim. Fire away at that question.
Well, honestly, I talk to my kids more about alcohol and weed. I know that my son's dad has talked to him about fentanyl because he's in the medical business, and so he's seen, people come in, and those people, are older. I think with the kids these days, when they get mixed into that again, it's accidental because they're trusting their friends.
Can I stop you for a second?
Sure.
Before I forget, why is it that you haven't talked to him? And I'm just wondering why. I'm not throwing any stones. I'm just wondering.
I honestly, I just haven't done like a lot of research of it, and so I think too, like, I just kind of I don't want to say forget about it, but I think I just know what they're struggling or what he struggles with at school, so I want to just focus on that. But yeah, I haven't had a lot of experience with it, so I feel like, I know that he has learned about it through his dad and through school, so I know that he does know about it and know to be aware. I talk about more like, don't take things in a little plastic bag, but I guess I really haven't focused just on fentanyl.
Right.
I think I just maybe automatically assume he knows, like, don't touch the stuff, but it's not, it's hidden.
Right.
It's
Right.
not like I think these kids are going out, I want to try fentanyl, give me the little gummy bear, or like the candy.
Right.
I think that they are trusting their friends more of what they're being given, not knowing that it's in
What's
there.
in there?
So I try to mainly focus on the weed because it's like, well, if you just don't do that, you won't have the accidental fentanyl that's being slipped in there. But yeah, I really haven't focused on that drug. With my kids.
That's okay. I was just trying to get a perspective, and there's a lot of parents that feel uncomfortable, talking about it, and for whatever reason, and those are the issues that I'm trying to bring out in these videos we're doing. Just what makes us handle our drugs in America the way we handle it, and what makes us our thinking process. So anyway. You're next, Kim. What is the most effective way to educate our kids on drugs and alcohol?
As one-on-one, just to be able to sit there and talk to them, and I think share with them the struggles and the addictions that I've had, and that they can get help. That it's not the solution, and just get to the source of the why. Why are you wanting to do this? Like, why are you wanting to not feel? Why are you, not wanting to feel sad? Like, what you're wanting to get that instant high, that feeling, let's get to the source of it. And, if we need to get counseling, get into counseling, just really just sharing with them that you've been there, I
Right.
think. And then just giving that opportunity to kind of open up and not think that, I'm a bad kid, I don't have anybody to talk to, or I'm going to get in trouble, because like I said before, they're going to talk to somebody about it.
Right.
And so I'd rather it just have be me or his dad.
Yeah.
I have seeked counseling, which is awesome, that they have somebody to go to other than their parents to kind of share and, be able to tell them their problems.
Right.
That, they don't have to feel this way. There's a different way to live.
Yeah.
So, and then they don't have to go along with their friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's more of a leader, not a follower.
There you go. You want to take a crack at that one?
I think communication for any subject, it's establishing those open communication lines is just key for these kids, because they're in such confusing time of their lives with growing up and the hormones and the pressure of what's the right outfit to wear, let alone what am I gonna, who's gonna make fun of me for whatever whoever I am, or who. And so feeling that comfort level for them, I think just having those open communication lines is just huge. Just knowing that they know that you are available, regardless of the subject. I did ask my 12-year-old, I said, how do you know about this stuff or drugs? And he was like, oh, commercials. And I said, really? Tell me, like, what have you seen? And he was like, there was this one commercial, Mom, that this kid was walking down an alleyway and this other kid said, hey, come over here and do these drugs with me. And the kid said, no, I shouldn't be doing that. He left. And Mama, he was so proud of himself. And I was like, yeah. And he really thrives off, he's very empathetic, my youngest. And so he is the feeler and the crier and the emotion, and he can walk into a room and read it really well. And so he thrives off that and those positive messages. And so I was like, really? You remember that? He goes, yes. And that little kid walking away is so proud of himself. And besides being terrified of it, he's also like a hypochondriac. So besides being terrified, he would never take anything anyway, I don't think, because he's so, scared of his health and stuff. But I do know that they can come and speak with us. It is harder. You asked earlier about, the difference between a boy and a girl. And I thought about that as you were answering. And I think it's really, regardless of, sex or gender, I have a harder time getting through, I feel like, to my older son, let alone my younger. It's just whoever can identify the best with that child. And so my husband is really good at talking to our oldest, and I'm really good at meeting on the same level with the youngest. It's not like I can't talk to the oldest, but he's more of a like, yeah. And so then I'll turn to my husband and be like, okay, on the way to school tomorrow, you need to talk to him about this. Because I do know that they have different relationships, a different kind of, and, whichever way, as a team, your husband or your, his father, or same with mine, I'll reach out and be like, I think we should talk about this,
Yeah.
So.
Interesting. A question I throw at both you, do you think this education on addiction should be taken maybe to into the schools and a outside source to educate our kids, or do you feel like it's a family type discussion?
I was wondering about that, because I don't even know what happens in our schools, like as far as drug education goes. I know that
I don't either.
I have no idea. And so me growing up, it was DARE, right? It was the McGruff, the dog, right? The Detective McGruff, who was huge, and he would come in and they had a guy in costume and a trench coat and a dog. I just remember him doing dare not to use drugs, and the police officers would come. I still remember Detective York. He came in and he would talk to us every year about drugs and not using drugs and being safe, and he was always someone I can picture in my life growing up, and through middle school and high school. He was real passionate about bringing it to the school. So I don't know what the schools offer these days as far as education goes. But for me, I was really impressionable as far as being able to get that education from DARE. Saturday morning cartoons always had this is your brain on drugs. And that has stuck with me to this day. And so I think that target age is finding what kids will, how we can get to them best. TikTok, Instagram, and the ads as far as like, this could be you and this is you in, 5 months on meth. Like it just, I really think that would be huge. I think it's from all facets because they are probably on their phone as equally as they are, present with me in the living room, or
Right,
more,
right.
probably more. So no, I think it's
That's
a community effort, or it should be.
Yeah. How about you, Kim?
Well, I know that my son has come home and tell me like, oh, we talked about this, and that. I'm like, what is that? Like, the drugs that are out now, like that are being invented, they have certain names for them. I feel like I'm just completely out of the loop. So I do know that they are talking to them. Whether they're talking to them enough about it, I mean, sometimes I think that they should just have one class on the subject just to kind of keep beating it into their heads. But, it's also our responsibility as parents because they're at school and they're at home. So I think like a good balance of, a little bit at school obviously would be good. But a lot of it, I think, comes back down to us. And just really watching like who they're hanging out with.
Right.
We could get with those parents and which I think doesn't happen anymore. We really don't know our kids' parents, our neighbors, like, yeah, you can go spend the night. Like I didn't meet the
Like, who are they?
parents.
Yeah.
So I think just, more on our effort, being more involved and getting just to know who they're hanging out with. I know like, usually the kid, or in my experience, it was a neighbor kid first time, that I trusted, and I trusted the parents and didn't think any harm would come to them. And sure enough, they were doing it, got it from the parents, so it just happens a lot younger than I thought it was going to happen. But yeah, I think it's school and at home should definitely, and I know that it is happening at school, and that would probably be a good question to ask a kid, like how are they talking to you?
Yeah, like
Are they just pulling people in once a month, once a week? Is there an actual class that goes over it for a little bit? So, but yeah, I definitely think it's a good idea.
Interesting.
For sure.
Interesting. Who went last? You.
I went first.
You.
Yeah.
Okay. In your opinion, why? And in videos to come, I want to address this subject, but it's a totally different subject. But the death of an overdosing kid, and in your opinion, why are there so many? Where as parents and adults of our community are we dropping the ball, and these kids are dying of overdose? In your opinion?
Well, like I said, it's just the education and talking to them about fentanyl and how. I mean, I don't think that these kids are going out looking for those kind of drugs. I think that they're just taking whatever their friends are giving to them, where who knows where those friends are getting them from, because a dealer has a dealer has a dealer has a dealer, and there's just a lot of evil people in this world, and they just want the money, and so they don't really care who they hurt or kill. So I think just definitely getting it from stuff that's in the weed that they're getting from their friends. And it just takes that one time for them to die. And like you said, a gateway, because you're really looking more in like, I don't want to put a box or a number on, who's definitely seeking out for those kind of drugs, but they're usually younger adults, not so much the middle school, high school kids. They're just going to take whatever their friends are giving them. And those friends aren't purposely going out and trying to kill them. They just don't know what they're being given to give to their friends. It's sad.
Yeah.
But there's no control over that. So it comes down to talking to them about it. Don't take the stuff that your friends are giving you, and just telling them this can happen. You can die.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's anyone necessarily one thing dropping the ball. There's so many factors, right? I mean, I have a friend who's a model parent and yet had, no control over their child's, how they're going. Like, you have to look back in life and go like, what was the moment that child did that instead of that?
Right.
Like, who's And I don't even think it a failure or even a lack of trying, you know. And who knows? And I think it starts with role modeling good behavior, right? Yourself for them, seeing healthy lifestyles and seeing. But even in those moments, you cannot predict a child's how they're going to be influenced.
Right.
You could be the, you know, best of the best of the best, leading the perfect life, and still not be able to control. You know, outward influences that you don't have control over, who they talk to or who they, you know.
I always wonder about that, because you could have two kids basically growing up in the same type of family.
Oh yeah.
And they get to this point, this crossroad in their life, and one goes right and one goes left.
Yeah.
Why?
And why?
You know.
And you don't know where they were emotionally
Yeah.
or mentally in that state, in that moment, you
Yeah.
know. And so as with any topic, you know, I just think it's just huge to, if they know they can come and ask questions, or they know that you are there as a, listen, you won't get in trouble. I'm here to speak with, you know, I want to be here no matter what you tell me. There will be no consequence. We will work things through, you know.
Right.
I think just like you said, just getting that information from their parent helps to reinforce that. Of course, they're going to have questions and go elsewhere, but
Right.
I don't think it's any one particular thing dropping the ball. I just think the more that we can do as individuals and as a community and as parents and as teachers and as, you know, friends and uncles and educators, that, you know, the more we can hit our kids at all angles,
Right,
I think
right.
the more supported they'll feel.
It's funny you say that, because, like, you know, I have two older sisters, and so I'm the youngest of three. You know, obviously we had the same parents, same
Right.
experience growing up, and you know, I was the one who ended up becoming an alcoholic. You know, and both my sisters are normies, so it's like you said, you know,
Yeah.
you just have no clue, like
Where was it there?
where
Right.
what that differentiation is.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. My parents loved me. We grew up in a real. My dad was a deacon of a church for many years, so we were really involved in church. You know, they made me get good grades. They supported my sports and all that stuff. I don't know why I became an alcoholic.
Yeah.
I just have
Yeah.
no idea. You know, it still it freaks me out today. You know, so
No, yeah.
who knows?
Yeah.
Okay, one more question and then we'll wrap it up. Do you feel comfortable monitoring your kids' cell phone, their apps, their social media tools that they have? Do you feel? First of all, do you monitor it? And second of all, do you feel comfortable doing it? Do you feel comfortable? Yeah.
I've never monitored my kids' cell phones. I think if to be paying attention to, you know, are their grades slipping? You know, are they isolating? You know, then kind of, you know, are they getting into trouble? You know, I take their phone away, you know, but I never gone into their phone to look at what they're doing, and I don't know why. I mean, we definitely have drug tested, but we have not, or I haven't looked into his phone. I don't
Yeah.
know.
That's interesting. You have drug tested, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, just out of the blue, you just drug tested, or?
No, like he was getting into some trouble, and from past experience, you know, it's the whole like I'll stop. I've stopped, you know, the lying or whatever, and then find out that he's still doing it. So it's like, well, you know, take away all of your stuff and keep drug testing you, and once you come back out negative, you can get your stuff back. Because, you know, they're gonna lie to you and say, you know, I'm not doing it, I haven't done it, I'm clean or whatever. But you know, unfortunately, we can't really take their word for it because they are kids. I mean, I lied when I was a kid to my mom. I can't tell you how many times.
Oh yeah.
So it's more of a practical way, and they have them at Walgreens for $15. You know, get them on Amazon.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and if you want the answer, I think that's really the only way to go.
Yeah.
You know, it's just have the proof kind of black and white.
It's funny you say that because we were trying to come up with the content of the questions for this video, and Barbie, my wife, said I think a good question would be do you drug test your kids? So I'm glad you brought it up.
Our kids have or at least the rules in our house are we know their passcodes to their phones, and so they better not have anything on there that if we randomly were to go into their phone that they weren't proud of, that they were, and we haven't had to do it. We haven't had to go into their phones, but so many, like the teachers communicate through Instagram now. The schools have Instagram pages. I know that my husband, who was the band director at the high school, they have a page on Instagram so that they can communicate to the kids. Yes, we have this class today, or so rehearsal's been canceled, or and so it is a really good way to communicate with children. And so I know that these are necessities these days, but I don't also go through and see what they're sending and see unless I saw the need for it. If I did see that, yes, more withdrawn, or they're not participating with the family, or grades are slipping, then of course I would seek out more information and investigate.
Right.
But no, and maybe I'm naive. Maybe I'm like, I think he's good. I hope, but
I don't think there's a naive or a right or wrong, naive or not naive.
Yeah.
It's just it's a weird subject. It's just it's not. I don't want to say weird, but it's a sensitive subject.
yeah.
You want them to grow up and be individuals,
Yeah.
adults, but at the same time, you want to monitor it. They just don't
thing
mix.
is that my oldest has an Instagram, but he's not posted a single thing on it. They joined to follow each other.
Yeah.
And so I looked and I'm like, and it's like no posts, 0 posts. I'm like, okay, so he's got nothing posted, and he goes to follow other, all of his friends or his,
Right.
whatever. So I don't
Do
know.
you have you ever thought about drug testing? Drug tested any of that?
No, I don't think. See, and then this is maybe me being naive again. No, I know who he hangs out with. I know who his core little group of people are, and not that we weren't mischievous band kids also, and band kids can get in trouble, but he's got a really good, and I do know most of their parents because they're all have been raised in the band the last however many years, you know what I mean? So
Right.
I don't know. I think though, if it did come where if I were to question it for sure, I wouldn't stop and say no, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
Yeah, I would have no problem
Yeah.
drug testing him if I felt like there was a need.
If it was
Yeah.
Well, guys, Kim, Vanessa, I really appreciate you being here today. I know you took time out of your Sunday to do this, and this is we'll be back with more videos to try to shed light on addiction. So have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks.